I would like to introduce my friend Isabel, often known as Isabel the Mama on Instagram. And you have a blog as well, right, Isabel?
Yeah, Isabel
And
the Mama.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
Want to make sure I gave the right name so they can find you. And I'll be sure that it's down in the description so they can find you on the World Wide Web. And today, Isabel and I will be discussing sustainability in the real world because we are tired of the all or nothing and the shame culture around sustainability. Excuse me, I have a bit of a stuffy nose today. And so, Isabel, I wanted to ask you how you came to be aware of maybe increasing your sustainability use in your home, how it kind of came into your life, and if you'll kind of tell us your origin story.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I grew up in a very sustainable household. My mother was very eco-conscious, very toxic aware of like chemicals. She cloth diapered us. She had expectations that we were going to do the same with our babies. As a first-time mom, I really wanted to cloth diaper. I had no idea what I was doing. And then once the baby came, I realized that I had no idea what I was doing. So I decided to just like ease into motherhood. But our precious baby girl, no diaper could hold up. We tried everything. And her and I, when she was 2.5 months old, came on a trip. And on day 3, she was on outfit number 8, and I just like lost my mind. So I went to a store, bought a cloth diaper, and then obviously one diaper isn't enough. But it just like opened the doors and really like got the wheels spinning about cloth diapering is definitely where we started. So once I kind of got a handle on that, and then of course with that, we looked into like laundry detergents, which I'd already been starting to switch. When I got pregnant, I started like looking at the toxins of the things that we were wearing, what was going on my body. I stopped using like perfumes and chemicals because she was right on my body. But definitely in regards to the sustainability, once we got a handle on the cloth diapers and I started doing some research, is when I was like really became aware of like how bad the situation was. And so cloth diapers were definitely a game changer. We even went to cloth wipes, which were amazing, more so with our second.
Okay,
He
I gotta stop you there because I'm so proud of you, and I admit to having been about a decade or so older than you, and I considered cloth diapering. They've come a long way, first off.
they've
What I
definitely
would have done for cloth diapering and what you guys have is a whole different. I would totally cloth diaper now. But you just hit me with cloth wipes. So take a second and kind of introduce cloth wipes to people because I don't think a lot of people know even that exists, much less the grossness or lack thereof of that. Like, what are we
oh
talking
yeah,
about?
cloth wipes are like actually no big deal. I just took a flannel blanket and cut it into squares and then serged it. So they were like 2-ply and they had no frayed edges. And they were just 2 layers of flannel sewed together in a square. And then I just used, our hospital sent us home with a peri bottle, postpartum. I'm sure all of you mamas know. And I
Uh-huh.
just filled it with water. And then I would wet my wipe and just wipe his bottom. And then I just put it in my laundry basket with the rest of our diaper stuff.
And did you have less rash with that? Just curious.
Yes, because we switched it. We started with our second using cloth wipes exclusively. Even if he was in a disposable diaper, we still used cloth wipes because he had bad butt rash. And because it was a clean detergent and then just water, it was, and then I would use a second wipe dry to like dry him so that he had no opportunity for a rash basically.
That is awesome. Because the reason why I asked is my daughter went through a period where she had horrific rashes. And I did actually use a soft cloth for a while. And I don't know why, but I never considered that as a long term. I now wish I had. But that's awesome. And that was just something you made out of your own soft
Yeah,
cloth.
my mom actually made a ton for, she made a ton when I got pregnant, but she saved some for all of my siblings' kids as well, of wipes. And like, so my sister uses them as like a face wipe because they don't cloth diapers. So it's just a flannel cloth. Could be like a washcloth in the bath. We just use them for diapering because we needed some, and they were there and they worked really well. They were just 2 layers of flannel serged together.
I
With
mean,
straight up tap water.
and that's the thing. One of the reasons why, you and I started talking personally and I wanted you to come on is that's doable.
Yeah.
And I've got to think over the years, you had to have saved some money. Like
I would think so, because all of the diapers that I bought with my first, I used with my second. I didn't have to buy any diapers with him in regards to cloth diapers. Same with wipes. I mean, you can do it probably a lot more financially frugally than I did, because it became an obsession for me. I like fell in love with the brand, and I like needed the new print, and
they are cute. They weren't cute when I was, they had just started coming out of the white nappy.
Yeah, and the big people are worried, I think, when they think about cloth diapering of the olden days where you had your big square piece of fabric and you had to tie it on. It's not like that anymore.
Barely swaddle. So the concept of trying to make sure that it all stayed in, but now it's easier than a disposable to me.
I think
like
so.
New cloth diapers. So I'm like, yeah, I would do it now. I would totally do it now.
It's actually, my box of diapers are the one thing I'm really struggling to part with as my kids are older and out of diapers, like out of baby stages. It's the one product I just can't
That's amazing.
part with yet.
So this led to you making your own wipes, and you were saying like your sister uses this to wash her face, obviously not the same ones that you use.
My mom kept piles for all of us kids. They're just a washcloth. We just use them as a wipe. And like, I would even accordion fold them so that I could have them in my wipes container so I could pull them out one at a time. Like, just made it super easy, and it was super user friendly for like their dad, who wasn't totally on board with the cloth diapering. I made it very like user friendly for anybody who was watching the kids. And then from there, I started like researching diapers and the effects, and like the fact that the very first diaper ever made is still sitting in a landfill somewhere is just like,
oh my goodness,
it just like haunts me. And
I had no idea.
I know, it's just
and it's
crazy.
because we have a fear of poo. I mean, I admit it. I totally acknowledge that the fear of poo. And now you think about what that lasting fear of poo. And if you knew as a beginning mom how long you were going to be dealing with poo past the diapering stage, really?
Well, my son is 4.5 and it's still a thing. So, but yeah, so that was kind of where the single-use items really started in our house. And then from there, I don't really know what was next. Definitely like the baby things, I think, were kind of next. Well, and then it went to like nursing pads. I had a box of disposable ones, and then I discovered that you could buy reusable ones that are so much softer, so much more comfortable, and then just better, basically, in my opinion. And then actually it went to menstrual products, because that was another thing that I was like, what the heck? I had like really terrible menstrual cycles. And then I was starting learning about like the chemicals and the effects. And so then I started switching to reusable products for that. And then it just kind of spiraled into starting with myself, I think, shampoos and body washes and things that are super full of toxins, especially when my like most precious baby is on my skin, breathing in all of these toxins. So that's kind of like how things spiraled for me. It was for them, for me, basically.
I gotcha. So for you, it sounds like you were almost more led by what was in the item more than the fact that it was single use. Like, it sounds like what would be left behind or be either on your body or on the earth was more than the fact that it was single use.
that's kind of where it started. But then as I started doing more research and started learning more, then definitely single use. Definitely, of course, like when it comes to straws, like we don't have the disposable single use straws anymore. And lunches, as my kids went into daycare, it became a thing. Growing up, we never had a store-bought treat. Like we never had like a box of granola bars or like bear paws and yogurt drinks. We didn't have any of that stuff. My mom baked everything. And so that was like a low waste lunch. I became very aware of that. And so it actually wasn't until like just the past 6 months even that I've started buying things, because I just kind of, I needed a minute. But we've got back into baking and getting back into
And that
that.
brings us to a really good point. You were raised with very high standards, and that's awesome. And Godspeed and blessed to your mom. But
Oh, she's amazing.
but you said you needed a minute, and that's true. Like every woman, every family, every man, every parent, has to find their place in the world with trying to balance it all, and whether you work in the home, outside the home, maybe you didn't get the baking gene, or so we all have to find that place. And what are your feelings about when you do need to buy the store-bought treats? Like, where do you find that balance for yourself, and what choices do you think can offset some of the?
I try to keep them. I mean, I do typically keep a box of that sort of thing on hand for emergency situations, like I'm sick or I have a headache, like a migraine, or road tripping. Like I keep a box in the car because you know what it's like to be hungry. And then add being a tiny human who has no sense of regulation. It's like, here's a cookie or a granola bar, just like, we got this. And usually they were like, when we go on road trips, packaged things were for the ride home, because I would have muffins and fresh baked things for the ride there, but then we would eat them. And so, and we do lots of traveling. My parents live 6 hours away now. It used to be 9. So we spend a lot of time in the car. So we definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's a really good balance. So you can prepare on the front side. You're like, okay, I know we're traveling. I have the ability to bake, so I will make the effort on the front side. I'm going to visit on there. I'm not going to spend my time there baking. So yeah, we can pull the prepackaged on the way back.
Well, and truth be told, my mom always sent us home with baking.
Got it. Okay.
But they're just like, yeah, there was emergency times, like we've been sick recently, and the kids, if they're not eating anything, then it's like, what do you want? I'll give you a bear paw. If that's what you'll get in your belly to like start getting things going again, then yeah.
That wasn't always an issue in our home. My kids were, well, they still are to some degree, but when they were young, they were extraordinarily picky. And my children were proof that they will starve themselves. You know, that whole thing, like, children will not starve themselves.
Yeah.
I am here to tell you that there is no such thing as an all children or no children rule. So please stop telling other parents that no child will do this or all children will do this, because my son literally fell off the chart. And my pediatrician told me, I don't care if he wants ice cream 24/7. He needs to just eat, because he had lost that much of his weight.
Yeah.
And so, because I was trying very hard to push the, healthy, he was at that age, they were like, you must make sure he is in, and he was like, no, I will have none of this. So, I think sometimes we have to, as parents, make difficult balance choices. And there was a period where my daughter was like, it is lunchable for lunch or it is no lunch. She would come back with completely untouched healthy lunches.
Same. If it wasn't anything that resembled a sandwich, I did not eat it.
Yeah. So And I think that's really important for parents to get back that feedback that it's okay. That if yeah, this is desirable. We would love to have a bento box and that it has, our little broccoli trees and our little carrots that are not the baby carrots, but are proper carrots that and all of that. But if your child is simply going to let that rot, come home underfed and hangry, and then you are wasting food, then you've done nothing.
Well, and then they're also too hungry to learn.
Right. So we've won nowhere, and the earth hasn't won because you've now got wasted food. So I think it's really important to have these conversations. And I also think it's important to discuss some of the less let's say less popular topics of the realities of money when it comes to some of the sustainability. Now, we were happy to talk about the fact that over time, it's an investment at the start, but
it can be.
The diapering and such probably paid off majorly.
Definitely. And like I bought a lot of the diapers secondhand too, which some people think it's gross, but you just sanitize them like you do anything else. But it doesn't have to be expensive to get started living a sustainable journey. I would say the first thing to do would be use what you have. If you look around your house, use up what you have. Don't throw away your Dawn dish soap because someone said dish bars are better. Use it because that's not going to help you.
Yesterday, well, it won't be yesterday when this airs. That was silly. In a previous episode of The Pebble, I talked about thrifting is great, but shop your closet first, because I realized that I had 3 of the same items, pretty much the exact same dress twice, and then one very similar. And the same thing, you used a flannel blanket. If baby items, they outgrow those, the birthing blankets, I bet a lot of those could probably work for
That's what we use, a lot of them. Yeah. And we use those like well into toddlerhood. Like instead of using tissues, we used our flannel blankets and our swaddle blankets. We just we called them booger blankets because they were everywhere. They didn't have to get thrown out. I could use them more than once. Or like if there was a spill, they were usually everywhere. We used them instead of paper towel and tea towels. Well, we use tea towels. But those were one of our most multi-use products, I would say. And then I would cut them up into wipes.
Maybe or even to handkerchief time. My father still carries one. But and that's a good way to look at it. So if you are going sustainability, and you think Whole Foods, and you're like, that's not happening. That's not the only sustainability journey.
Isabel, I can guarantee you that I cannot afford to shop. We don't have Whole Foods. We have other health food stores. But that's not in our budget of where we live, how expensive food is, and all that stuff. And
especially with the current grocery status. I mean, and that's okay to be honest about that. And, right now there is a wide range at the ag department for me. And, it's like $2 to $10 for the same 12 eggs. I mean, I understand they're not the same, but for my family's intake, the reality is the same. So Isabel and I are not here saying it's an all or nothing thing. That's exactly why we're having the conversation. There are too many voices out there saying, if you can't go in and buy the such and such best eggs for $10 and only buy organic milk and only buy, such and such protein that's only been processed in the perfect way, then you're not doing what you can for the earth. Little things.
I agree. It's the little things. So like, obviously we're all aware of reusable bags and straws. Those are important, but not as I feel like there's bigger things that you could do. Like, I know that not everyone has the ability to buy bulk, but like if you, because it definitely costs more upfront, but it does last longer. And so like we've got a little dish soap container on our counter, but then we've got a big tub under our sink that we just fill up. We're reusing the little one instead of buying new $2 dish soaps every time. And I mean, sure, we could do better with with a better dish soap in a glass container that's less toxic, but that's not where we're at. We go through dish soap like crazy. It's expensive too. And right now this is where we're at. And same with like dishwasher tablets. We do use dishwasher tablets. I know that they're not great, but I have yet to find something that works better. And then I reuse the container when we can. I use it on the counter for like compost or coffee grounds, or a lot of the times we use things for crafting with the kids, because we're at that age where the kids just can turn anything into beautiful artwork.
Right. Absolutely. It's not perfection, but everything that you choose adds up. And that's the point of the pebble, right? Is that every time you make at least a little choice, it matters. Think about if all of us made even those little choices. And if you already owned the little soap that's plastic, what would have been the benefit of you throwing that out?
Yeah.
So to have a glass one, it's still being thrown out, you're reusing it. So that is a value. Because I almost made that decision. I was like, I'm going to all glass. And I had all these plastic things. And then I was like, Tracy, you already bought them.
Well, and
So
the other
what is
thing,
the value to it as long as they're not breaking down? I was like, at the point they start breaking down, and then I'm worried about the toxins, that's different. But until they're breaking down, you've already created the consumer part of it. So throwing them away doesn't help. So you might as well use them. I just don't use them for food anymore.
yeah, that's totally it, is using what you have. And also like, I was recently given like a glass foaming hand dispenser but I've got young children. We have a ceramic sink. I am keeping our plastic soap dispenser in our bathroom because
That's asking
that's
for
just,
disaster.
yeah. So it's in the kitchen, but like switching everything to glass, like I was talking with my sister. I'm like, oh, I want to do all glass Tupperware containers. She's like, that's silly. Your kids are going to break them and then either get glass everywhere or we're going to have to keep buying new things. And I was like, that's right. In this stage of life, we need to do what works for us. So any reusable lunch container is better than like Ziploc baggies or saran wrap or that sort of thing. So I mean, I do believe that like sometimes it does leach into our food, but again, so would a plastic bag, I think. I don't know, you just have to find like what balance works best for you. So for us, Tupperware containers work great. I haven't bought a Ziploc bag apart from when we are butchering meat in like 5 years probably. And it's been great.
And I think Tupperware is pretty like of them.
I think
But I
so.
agree. And I think that's the thing. We don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world of a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
The more we can change that, the better. And again, the little steps start to change, like the industry. When you go onto Target, or I know in Canada you don't have that, but an equivalent.
We've got lots of stores like Target.
Yeah, that you see more and more glass and with silicone covers and other things starting to show up. So it is changing, and those little things matter, but we can't fix it all at once. And you just make the best changes you can little by little for your family. And I think it makes sense. I would not have glass there, and I would not send my child with, a glass container in their lunchbox because I had klutzy children.
Yeah.
And
well, kids.
so, I think that's what I really appreciate you sharing your journey on that. And I hope we will, I know you love thrifting, so I hope we will have other opportunities to talk about like very practical ways that tips that we can integrate going
Yeah.
forward and fun thrifting.
Been thrifting in so long because we don't need anything, but our daughter just hit a new shoe size, so it's
Well, and the thing too about it is that's one of the things I talk about, like the what not to do. So to not become a hoarder and not do like I did, which was to not shop my closet first. But that's the kind of thing too, is to make sure you don't get more than you need. Now you're more of a minimalist than
I'm
I.
not though. It's I'm not. I I want to be, and I like keep striving to like purge and get rid of the things. And this year, since January to now, I haven't bought anything. But previously,
Good for you.
I know it's been really hard. I especially like sales. I'm a sucker for a sale. Like there's like that
They
joke.
see me coming. They just put
Oh,
that percentage, and I'm like, oh.
I'm who marketing is directed towards, and it's been really hard to like resist the urge. But I'm trying to get better at like not doing a capsule wardrobe because that's not feasible for my personality type. Um,
I
but
like to play too much. I have to have too many different things, but
yeah, and
that's
there's
okay.
different needs like work clothes, home clothes, going out to town clothes, shopping clothes,
But
play
we can
clothes.
show how to do that in a sustainable way. It's why I
Yes,
mostly thrift. It really
yeah,
is.
same.
So,
Especially, yeah, yeah.
well, thank you. You have been a delight to
Oh, good.
host on my show, The Pebble. And again, my friends, please find Isabel the Mama on all of the platforms and isabelthemama.com. And she really does on her Instagram, she has all these great short reels to give you very practical tips. And I really appreciate you, my friend, for sharing your time. And we will have you back again soon.
Well, thank you for having me.